Welcome to In the Know by Diann Schindler. This is Diann Schindler speaking. I'm the host of In the Know, the podcast show. I'm an author, a presenter, a solo nomad, a travel blogger, and a photographer. So this podcast show includes writing tips, travel tips, and my views of life from savvy and thoughtful to quirky and humorous. I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, this is Diann Schindler. I'm coming to you from Amelia Island, Florida. It's January 20th, 2021. It's Inauguration Day. I haven't done any podcasts since November. So not only am I out of practice, but I need to apologize to you. So today's podcast will be first my apologies to you and an indication, an apology plus the reason why I haven't podcasted since November. Plus I want to talk about goal setting because it's 2021. So let's start first with my apologies. Thank you so much for emailing me or texting me or Facebooking me, if that's a verb, about podcasting. Where am I? I didn't blog, I didn't podcast. Well, here's the truth. 2 reasons why I didn't podcast. Now, there are many more, but 2 I'm going to talk briefly about today. One is that I was writing and editing my book, The Thriller Claim Denied. I know you're sick of hearing this. I'm sick of writing this book in a way. I sent the manuscript to my beta readers at the end of September. I got it back, and when I got it back, I saw how much work I had to do, and I was almost paralyzed, frankly, for like a week. I just kind of walked in circles because there was so much I needed to change. And then I got into editing. Meanwhile, I hired an editor. So I had a deadline. I had to get this book edited, get it to my developmental editor by the end of December. And I did that. I got it to her January 2nd. But for 6 weeks, almost 2 months, I was steeped in editing. And if you've heard me talk about editing before, it's like I'm a mole. I'm under the ground editing, steeped in the craft, determined to get the damn thing done. It was very difficult. And at the same time, I didn't have time for anything else because I was single-minded. It's almost like writing a dissertation. It's harder than that, I think, because it's hard work. So at the same time, the second reason is I had a health flare-up. Yes, I've had some form of arthritis that kicked in to my body about 2 years ago. And I have been struggling with that off and on, more on than off over the past 2 years. Well, I had a flare-up. I had a bad flare-up during this December, end of November and December, and I was off all medication. So I had this flare-up. I thought I had broken my wrist, I swear. The pain was very, very bad, and I powered through my pain, and that's the good news and the bad news. That's how I function. I powered through it. I found a way to compensate for getting that milk out of the refrigerator and pouring it into the coffee cup. I found a way to avoid, running the vacuum and so forth. By the time I got to my doctor, my rheumatologist at Mayo Clinic, the flare-up was virtually over. The swelling in my knees and legs had gone away pretty much. I had some residual pain in my wrists and my hands and other places, but the wrist and the hand was the most severe. Well, the bad news is the powering through, I damaged the joints in my right hand. Well, this is the first time it's happened with this arthritis, where I have damaged joints. So it was pretty damn scary. When I went to the doctor, my inflammation was all down and all that, but she said, you've got some inflammation in your knees and in your hands. I'm going to put you on medication. So I was on medication for 5 days, 6 days, and I'm telling you what, that was a miracle. It was a form of prednisone, and I realized how much pain I had had before and how I had worked around it to a fault. That was my tipping point. Damaged joints in my hand was a tipping point because I can lose some mobility there. So I don't want that. So the prednisone for 6 days, the damaged joints, and the realization that I had been working through this really bad pain was the tipping point. I made a decision. I made a succinct decision. After not taking medication my whole life and been thrust into all sorts of medication these past 2 years, and then finally getting off of it, finally saying to myself, I'm not taking any more medication. This tipping point, as I mentioned, put me over again. And so I decided my quality of life was very important. I'm back on medication. We won't go into that, how many side effects I've had before. Let's just hope and pray that I don't have a lot of side effects. Well, so I'm excited, and it's the end of the year. It's end of 2020, thank God, and I have a new lease almost on life, which brings me right in to goal setting. So let me just say, I apologize. Those are the two reasons, claim denied and pain. That's why I didn't podcast, and I'm back. I haven't podcasted in a while, so I'm rusty. It's going to be a rusty podcast, but I'm forging ahead. So I'm going to look at 2020. We have had, and you know this, so I don't want to dwell on it too much, but we have had a concentric circle of crises for 2020. Started March where I hunkered down. Couldn't see friends, couldn't see family. My mother's in a nursing home. She's doing well, by the way, in a nursing home in Ohio. She's 94. She'll be 95 in June. I haven't been able to see her, talk to her. Of course, she doesn't know who I am, but she's happy. Believe it or not, she's happy. She loves her nurses, but I haven't been able to see her. We've all suffered from this concentric circle of crises. Not only the pandemic has created horrible health issues and our inability to see family and friends, and it has affected me personally. My friends have had COVID. All of them, except 2, have worked through it and lived. One, my cousin's daughter, died. That was very hard. She was like 35 years old. So she died of COVID. And one friend of mine who has had COVID, still, and for the past 6 or 8 months, she's had residual issues that have affected her in her daily life. So, and then the concentric circles of crises. One is the pandemic, health, people losing their jobs, the economy, all kinds of horrible things that happen. Furthermore, we've had weather issues this year. It's like hell on earth, isn't it? I mean, just since September, it's been recorded that the U.S. experienced major disasters, western wildfires, a record-breaking hurricane season. And this is just recorded since September. This information I'm sharing with you is just since September. This is not October, November, and December. But the hurricane season and the windstorms in the Midwest and the thunderstorms, extensive damage with 16 different weather and climate-related disasters with a financial toll of over $1 billion. The other issue, we've had political crisis and division. I know I'm not going to get political, but our country is divided. This is very depressing, very disturbing. So I want to look back at 2020. I want to do the good highlights of 2020. Then I want to talk about my goals for 2021. Do you write goals? We're going to talk about that. First, let me look at the highlights of 2020. I finished a novel writing class. I've watched thousands of hours of seminars, and I've listened to thousands of hours of podcasts, and I've read thousands and thousands of words all about the writing craft, all about how to write. I drafted an outline for another novel. I talked about it a little bit in a podcast before. It's going to be a small town setting. I will put a link to that podcast where I talk about the small town setting. It's a sequel to Claim Denied. I've also, by the way, read the first chapter, one of the first chapters in Claim Denied on a podcast. I'm going to put that in the show program news. I caught up with old friends, caught up with an old flame who's married now. Daggone it. And started knitting again. I knitted a vest. That was a challenge, and a couple scarves. I have watched so many movies, it's ridiculous. And I learned something about myself. Is this how you are? I am addicted to series. I watched The West Wing. I swear to you, it must have been all day and all night for a week. Sat there eating popcorn, watching that West Wing. And I'd seen all those episodes before when it was on TV. Now it's on Netflix. I also watched all of Outlander, that series, and I was addicted to that. So I try to avoid series because I have no discipline. I also watched all these movies, but I watch movies for two reasons. One is to escape, as we all do, but it's also to study the writing craft. You can learn a lot about watching movies and thinking about the hook, the middle build, the conflict, the crises, the way in which suspense is developed in movies. So I've been doing that. One of the greatest highlights is I have been involved in what is called a D3 literary salon. D is in Donna, Diann, and Daryl. Three of us who are writers who have agreed. We agreed last February to develop, to do a writing group, just the three of us, a triad. And we meet bi-monthly on Zoom. Daryl Bollinger is a thriller writer. He has 7 medical thrillers. His latest one is called The Healing Tree. Watch for a podcast where I interview him about The Healing Tree. Donna, you've heard me talk about her before. PhD, former sex therapist turned erotica writer, Dr. J. She now is writing her first novel and finishing up this romance novel. Daryl, Donna, and I have done this bi-monthly meeting on Zoom for 2 hours, and our experience has been incredible. So we're doing presentations now. We're setting up for presentations about our D3 literary salon experience, why it works and how it works, and recommendations for others. And we're writing a nonfiction book, so watch for that nonfiction book in July or August of this year. Goal setting is very important. I've written goals where I said, gee, I'm going to get this done, I'm going to get that done. But I never sat down and wrote goals and objectives and peeled them back and figured out step 1, step 2, step 3 with deadlines and measurements and all of that. I did that this year. I know, it sounds ridiculous, but according to positivepsychology.com, goal setting helps trigger new behaviors. Well, that's what I'm interested in. It helps guide my focus and helps me to sustain the momentum in life. Goals help align focus and promote a sense of self-mastery, and I'm the kind of person, I have to get things done. In the end, you can't manage what you don't measure. You can't improve upon something that you don't properly manage, is how I want to say that. So setting goals can help you do all of that and more. Setting goals not only motivates, but it also can improve our mental health. Lord, that's what I want to do. And this, it's hard in this pandemic to have good mental health. It just really is. Feel good about yourself. Feel good about the next day. That's a daily challenge, I think. And the pandemic, while we're moving out of it, is not going to go away. immediately. We're still immersed in it. So goal setting can improve the mental health and our level of personal and professional success. Well, that's what I'm interested in. So I have written goals and objectives, timelines, and measurements for a bunch of stuff. One, I've done a business plan for my writing, which I had never done before. It is comprehensive, and I'm still working on it. It includes finishing this claim denied, getting it published, doing the marketing, doing the launching, a launching webinar. I hope you sign up for that. Also, writing another book. Oh boy, another book. I'm my own I'm my own worst enemy. My goals and objectives not only include a business plan for my writing, but also exercising. I did a lot of swimming this year. Now I can't swim, it's cold. But walking, lifting weights, stretching, dancing. Yeah, I dance every day if I can, right in front of Pandora on my smart TV. I love that. I'm going to eat better. I eat very healthily, but I overeat. I love crunching. Crunching is how I manage my stress, I realize. I've decided to write down everything I eat, be more aware, not to overeat, be more disciplined, and I want to look for new recipes because, I'm really lazy. I just grab something out of the refrigerator. Now I'm planning ahead and I have new recipes. I'm playing my guitar. I didn't do anything with my guitar for about 18 months because my hands I just couldn't play guitar. So now I'm back to that and I'm playing guitar daily. I have learned again Tears in Heaven by Eric Clapton, and of course Hallelujah. Oh, I love that song. And Blackbird. I'm meditating, and in this past year I've kind of meditated on the fly. Now I'm taking time. I sit down 15 minutes a day. That's it. I meditate. And what do? I have a mantra. My meditating mantra is, I choose to let go. I choose to let go. One of my downfalls is I can pull up negativity and hang on to it. And it's almost at an unconscious level. I worry about things. It's been magnified this year with 2020. So meditation is really good. I can't believe I just sort of let that slip by. I write every morning for 3 pages longhand. As soon as I make my coffee and sit down, I don't even brush my teeth. I write 3 pages just to clear my mind. I'm finding I really like that. I'm doing podcasting and newslettering and doing the blogging, of course. I'm learning Portuguese. So these are my goals with timelines, with measurements. I started a how-to podcast book last year, and I didn't finish it. Why? Because I didn't have it as a goal. At least that's how I feel right now. So I'm finishing this podcast book. Shouldn't be that difficult. I've done a lot of work on it, and I'm going to try to get that published. Let me rephrase, because try to get that published is not a good way to set goals. I'm going to get that published by June. That should be easy. I'm staying healthy physically, emotionally, and mentally. Now, the thing about writing my goals is there are important goals and there are urgent goals. The important goals to me that I always have to reread every morning is staying healthy, feeling good, and writing. Writing is an important goal. There are urgent goals that emerge from that writing. Finishing deadlines, editing, rewriting, and so forth. So when you write your goals, do you write goals? I encourage you to think about it. If you're interested in writing goals for 2021, send me an email at diann@diannabroad.com. That's DIANN@DIANNABROAD.com. Put goal setting worksheet in the subject line, and I will send you two things. One, I will send you a 2021 goal setting worksheet, a blank one, and then I'll send you another one that I have filled out to help you understand how to fill out your own 2021 goal setting worksheet. It can't hurt. It takes a little time. For me, it just makes me move forward in a way that's productive. It makes me feel good, a sense of mastery. So do you write goals? Write them down with specificity, timeline, measurements, and so forth. Remember, goal writing can improve mental health and personal success. I'm so happy to be back podcasting. I'm so happy that it's 2021. I'm looking forward to this year. And I'm happy to be talking to you again. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to In the Know. If you would like to support the show, you can do so by subscribing and sharing it with your family and friends. You can like this episode, leave a comment, and even add a rating. Your support is very important to the success of In the Know. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.